When I look at BPO as an industry, right, I'm worried because I see this as a dying industry. Is BPO a dying industry?
Sir, AI is seen as the next formidable threat to the BPO industry.
Tough for me the initial days of BPO and that time was when the US recession hit and there was a lot of negative talks and job loss, especially in organization that were doing international BPO. I was like,
Usually these kind of jobs are being taken care by the freshers today. AI is actually going to take majority of that piece. What will happen to Indian talent?
don't underestimate the Indian fresher kid. They just don't do the basic repetitive job. In today's world, it's very, very difficult for somebody who's just out of class 12 or just out of college to get a job, and you get them in plenty in the BPO, right? That's one factor that I really
Do you think BPOs are failing to innovate?
I think we are in the midst of a transformation, but I think BPO today will slowly start becoming.
BPO is actually the ground for a lot of freshers to start their work from.
This is the last option a person has, and they get into the BPO. If you look at the people who join the BPO in the entry-level job, they don't do their class 9, class 10, class 12.
Does being an approachable leader make people respect you less?
Various organizations have told me, don't be so much approachable. It's going to take away your lot of bandwidth and stuff like that.
Do you allow your employees to look at their wife's face on a Sunday, or do you want them to work?
Right. I definitely allow them to do that so that I can do for myself.
Is AI really creating jobs, or it's just a corporate way of kind of saying that, hey, you should not worry? So today we have with us Mr. Makesh Sankaran, the CEO of Altruist BPO. Hi Makesh, how are you?
Hi, glad to be here.
I see that this podcast is going to be nothing less than a masterclass in adaptability and transformation, right? Given the kind of industries that you work with and the way that you've transformed these organizations, I was reading about you. I think I'm really excited to get to know about all of that from you. Really happy that you're here. How are you feeling?
All good. Nice to be here too and share some of my experience with you guys.
Sure. And so what's keeping you busy these days? How is your life going? What all is going on right now with all of this AI and everything coming in?
A lot of stuff. We are a very people heavy industry, people heavy organization. Our organization has about 12,000 plus people, and with the transformations that are happening in the BPO, and that too at a very rapid pace. So we are all on our toes, trying to adapt ourselves, accept the change, put in our own thoughts into the changes that are there, and build a roadmap of our future along with what's happening in the industry. So that's kind of keeping us really very busy.
Rather, I'm also excited because when I look at BPO as an industry, right, two things come to my mind. One is that it is actually the ground for a lot of freshers to start their work from, right?
Absolutely.
When you are not getting jobs anywhere, that is actually the place which actually tells you, grows you from beginning. On the other side, I'm worried because I see this as a dying industry, right? So is BPO a dying industry or rather a untapped gold mine? I would love to discuss all of that. We'll start with your career first, your personal life before your career started, your family, how were your childhood days, all of that. Let's begin.
Oh yeah, sure. So I was born and brought up, and I studied in a place called Madurai in Tamil Nadu, down south. Wonderful city, temple city, very popularly known for its South Indian food. I grew up there. I studied in a school called Vikasa, which was a Brit school. So even though it was down south, the kind of facilities that the school had, right? Like in those days, we had swimming as a subject. One sports was compulsory. So the school had a lot of rub off on me. Then I did my masters in physics in Madurai. There, I used to play a little bit of cricket till I think first year of college. I thought, all that was a big thing for me. Then I actually started studying probably from second year of college, and I had this love for physics and maths. So I did my master's there. I actually wanted to kind of do an MTech from IIT and stuff like that. I did almost get there. I was kind of waitlisted one for an MTech in IIT Delhi, and I got admission to doing PhD in physics in almost all the IITs, and that for whatever reason, that waiting list number one in IIT didn't move because it just had 8 seats, and it was building chips and designing chips. So I didn't sit back, rejected. I wanted to go and work.
So you had so much love for physics that you are actually considering doing a PhD in physics as well, is it?
Yeah, at that point of time. But then I just had to go and work at that point of time. So I joined HCL as a sales executive there, and then that's how I began. I was almost into product sales for about 10, 12 years of my initial part of my career. I used to sell IT solutions like, those mainframe computers those days, switches and routers. And then for a few years, I was in the office automation industry. Then I moved to consumer electronics, where I spent a considerable 6-7 years between Onida and LG. LG was a great experience for me, working with the Koreans, real, high pressure environment. I know people those days used to say, if you complete 1 year in LG, it's like a doctorate kind of a thing. I was there for about 5 years. It really gave me a lot of confidence to handle large roles. I was the product head for the plasma LCD TV division then. Briefly, for about a year or so, I was in power backups. And then I really got very bugged with selling products, both retail and enterprise sales. I thought I should do something in services sales, and at that point of time, ITES, BPO were really evolving and growing big. I thought I should become a sales guy there, and I took up my first job in BPO. I think that was in 2008, right, with a company called Adventity, which got later taken over by Sutherland. I go and I joined there as a sales in charge there, and I was completely, taken aback. I just couldn't understand anything at all, right? As a product sales guy, a particular product, and the maximum you will know is how the competitors in that industry are doing, right? If I was in LG selling plasma, I would know everything about a Philips plasma or a Samsung plasma, and that's it. Well, you go into the BPO, and I suddenly saw guys were talking telecom one day, guys were talking insurance the other day, evening they would talk about banking and then healthcare. I was like, God damn, where have I landed up into it? I just don't understand anything. It was pretty tough for me the initial days of BPO, and that time was when the US recession hit, and there was a lot of negative talks and job loss, especially in organization that were doing international BPO. I was like, way scared. I don't know where have I got into, and how will I sustain? Did I take the right decision? One thing I always had confidence was, if I drop everything and go back to a product company, I would get a job for sure. So that gave me some confidence. A very funny incident happened, and at that point of time in the organization, they had some restructuring happening, and they had no one to look into HR. And then they saw that I was the guy with the least amount of work, and then they said, okay, you go manage this for some time till we get somebody else. I said, okay. And I took that up pretty seriously, and because it was a scope for learning for me too, because I just did not know anything. Then I started from ground level. I spent a lot of time talking to the customer service executive, or telecallers as we may call. I started understanding their life, what all they have to do on work. Slowly, I started liking them. I've always been a people's person in my life, and that's how I choose to be, right? Then I slowly started learning. I started getting into operations, understanding how the whole thing functions. And it took me about a year. By the time then I started having a decent amount of grip across the various functions. From there, from a BD guy, I started slowly handling client servicing, and then a little bit of operations, HR, and yeah, I think for the last 7-8 years, I've been in the role of a CXO. Very happy.
Wow. So this was quite interesting. And do you see this part of you maybe transitioning from a sales focused person to, let's say, HR and then client servicing? That adaptability, do you see that particular incident as a major point in your career, major transformation point for yourself, like pointing it towards where you are today?
Absolutely. Right. If you see, a lot of people are like with the horse saddle, right? They just wanting to do what they have to do and move on. And if you kind of compare a bunch of people who've really done well, grown well in life, they've always kind of ensured that they do well in their core work, and then kind of move around it to see what else they can do. That really adds value even from an organization point of view. We really want to see people who go beyond their work, learn more. It really helps the organization. The more people you have, the organization tends to do well. Yeah. So clearly, the two things that I see, and I keep telling whenever I talk to my colleagues as well, that expanding your area of work, taking overall ownership and responsibility, and being an independent operator, is so much good for the employee, and it's so much good for the organization equally. Yeah.
Nice perspective, I must say, right? So, do you think BPOs are failing to innovate, or we are just too busy looking at the Silicon Valley transformation and ignoring the kind of innovation that's happening at BPOs?
No, I think we are in a midst of a transformation. I don't think so. The transformation has completely happened, or it's yet to begin. I think we are somewhere in the midpoint where there is a lot of AI solution and automation that's being experimented, implemented successfully in some places. A long way to go in another set of applications that you see. But I think it's a combination that will work for sure. Today, as these transformation happen, the low-end repetitive job will slowly start to go off, right?
Yeah.
You might probably see a 10% erosion year on headcount. But what is happening parallelly is some of the large clients that we are handling, or any BPO would be handling, they as an organization are also growing, and their customer base is growing. So the headcount, if automation takes away, let's say 15% because of the growth of the organization, probably we might lose about 7 to 8% year on year, at least for the next 2-3 years, unless otherwise something major disruptive, kind of lands up in the industry. I think that's the trend it would be. But I think BPO today will slowly start becoming partners for their clients on operational efficiency, process excellence, and cost efficiency as well, right? So I think we would move more towards that. So it's very important for us to upskill and reskill our own people.
So you mentioned about so what you're saying is maybe 7 to 8% reduction in headcount is what you're expecting in next, let's say, 3 to 4 years, 2 to 3 years, right?
Yeah.
Right. Sure. And let's talk about developed markets, right? So do you think BPOs still have a place there, or they're just going to be taken away because of low cost economies, primarily driven by that factor?
Nowhere BPO will vanish, whether it is a developed economy or a upcoming country. I think BPO is there to stay. It is just that the work that happens out of a BPO will go through a transformation, right? Repetitive work in non-voice will go at a faster rate than repetitive work at voice, right? People still feel the need for interacting with a human being to get a little bit more confidence, right? And it's also more complex to handle AI with voice than non-voice, while a lot of open AI and other things are coming around. So we will have to transform. We will have to do more complex work. So we will do more of process re-engineering. We will do more of complex customer handling rather than the basic work. With India, the situation might be slightly different, especially in voice automation, with the diversity of languages that we have, with the dialect in each of the languages that we have. It's a far more complex situations. While I've been seeing a lot of voice bot products coming in the market, started to give some basic results, but it's still a long way to go to kind of master that, typical India kind of a situation, right? We get very irritated with the long IVR queue, right? Hey, come on, man, I want to talk to somebody and get this going, right? I'm not going to keep pressing 1, 2, 9 and so on and so forth, right? So as people, we are a little bit impatient, and we have more confidence that if somebody tells me that this work will happen, the probability of happening is high. The second thing is the expanding rural market in India, right?
Okay.
Right. The expanding rural market in India will still keep voice sustaining for some more time. While there's another school of thought, the rural market also has smartphones and they know as much as an urban kid. But I think it'll still kind of push it a little bit more. But yes, repetitive jobs will go, and the work of a BPO employee across all levels, right, from a call taking agent to a manager operations or a manager quality, they will have work transformation.
BPOs will remain, but the kind of work that they do, the kind of value that they add now is going to be different. Just like we used to earlier used to chat with, let's say, Swiggy, Zomato, kind of customer support, or Amazon, Flipkart, where we were so used to getting into the agent, but now all of that is being taken care by AI. And only if the agent is not able to AI agent is not able to revert, then I have an option to request a call back or something.
It's almost like that now.
Yeah.
It's
going to be the same in the voice-based processes, right? Where I'm calling, if I'm not solved, the query is not solved with an AI agent, then it is going to be processed to...
Yeah. So the first option which all organizations will have is to see how can they service their customer through self-help without talking to anyone, right? Can they do it themselves through their app? It goes beyond that.
So what I see with this is that all the low quality, let's look at the value pyramid. Whatever is in the low value pyramid, low value of this pyramid is going to be replaced first, right? And usually these kind of jobs are being taken care by the freshers today, right? Or 0 to 2 years of experience particularly. If AI is actually going to take majority of that piece, what will happen to Indian talent? Because they are facing problems with tech as well. So not a lot of coders are now being hired because of AI. And you're saying that similar situation is going to happen with kind of in the telecalling segment or support segment. What do you think freshers should do with such?
Don't underestimate the Indian fresher kid. They are actually wonderful. They just don't do the basic repetitive job. They handle queries of customers of a bank, customers of a consumer electronics industry. Let's say an agent is working as a customer service executive for a consumer electronics industry. He will be able to support on a refrigerator, on a TV, on a microwave, right? He'll be able to do the initial troubleshoot or raise a service request, right? When I say very, very repetitive job, it's a mix of analytics plus AI, right? Let's say for example, collections as an industry, right? What banks would do or what NBFCs would do is to kind of analyze and see which of the customers with a small nudge, they do their payment. It's just that they forget, right? Pick them all up and put in a voice bot, right? There's not too much of interactions and anything that is required. But here are two customers who really need to be kind of, told twice, thrice, Okay, that
Yeah.
to be on the safe side, I will put them onto the humans, right? Those kind of segregations will happen, and even when you talk from a voice perspective, which is the voice bot, right? That's not the only thing that's going to do an impact. Voice bot can probably relay a message or relay a message and take yes no as an answer, or a slightly one step ahead with one or two conversation, and it doesn't go beyond that.
Yeah.
The part of AI that will kind of deplete some of our volumes are more from the move towards the self-help in customer service.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. And what portion is this usually? Self-help versus where you need an agent?
I have a very strange example, right?
Okay.
I was servicing a food delivery app client some 3-4 years before. Probably the numbers can change today, where the app clearly said how long would it take for my food to reach home, right? Still, my call volume 50% was, when is my food coming? Right? Probably it would have improved, right? I think over the last 2-3 years, it would have improved. So that's why. So it's very, very important that there will be an element of human touch in all this,
Best
because
example
I'm
ever.
sure the brands wouldn't want to leave off an unresolved query with their customers, right? So it's very, very important.
No, in fact, this is the best example I've heard, because I myself, right, when I'm so agitated, where is the food? I know that the AI would give you the answer that you're already seeing on your screen. You'd need a person to really tell you that, hey, your food is on the way. It's coming up. So so if we kind of summarize this into the impact that AI is going to have, let's say in the short term and then the long term, what would you summarize it as?
I think three parts clearly as I see it now. One is on the voice bot bit. The second one is the self-help, which gets promoted to service the customer from their own mobile by themselves, right? I think that's the second, and a bunch of things that happens in the non-voice as image reading and things like this. I think all this together will have an 8% impact year on year for the next 2-3 years. And as I said, it all depends on no other disruptive technology or idea that comes up. But at the rate at which it is going, it's not just the technology enhancement that is important. It is also the adaptability of industry,
Yeah.
and more importantly, the adaptability of the customers as they see it. Right? Yeah.
You mentioned that you were once considering going into a PhD in physics. I'm sure, right? Your mind would be running in equations, mathematics, and all of that. Uh, how does a leader manage very hard truth like data with emotions while dealing with people? Because at times they're quite opposite. What data says versus what people are feeling and emotions, they lead to different conclusions and different actions. So
Yeah.
how do you manage that?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question, big question, and that's how probably my life runs, right? Right, you always want to be very, very data centric, and sometimes your gut feel might throw something, your data might throw something completely different, and your emotion to a human being is a a third angle, right? That's a very important one to balance in today's world, right? You can go by data, you should go by data, but all decisions don't necessarily lie because of that. I run a self rule for myself, and my colleagues would know it. They will sometimes make fun of me. It's called the 3 months rule, right? If somebody is not doing well, and that's what my data says, right? I would say give him that space for the 2-3 months, and as an organization, go all out to support him to ensure that he picks up in the 3 months. Probably he's not doing well because of some other function, some work is not moving. It can be any reason, or it can be just having a bad phase in life, right? So whenever we pick up people, when we see through data, okay, these 3 people out of 10 are not delivering the way they should be delivering as per the Excel sheet that I have, right? But if you go to that person, he might be going through a bad phase in life. He might be genuinely not knowing how to deal with the problem to move forward, or he could be having an attitude problem, either of the 3 in a broad line, right? So I definitely would like to understand why that guy is not doing well, and we try to build a framework where the system goes and supports him, gives him all the support, encouragement, motivation that is needed for him to pick up. If he still doesn't pick up, then you have an organization equation that comes into picture. Then you kind of have to take a decision at that point of time. Very important. You should not take any decision without data, but after you get to see that data, put in your emotional intelligence to take your final call, right? I mean, I truly believe in that, and every case that I see like that, I ensure that I work on this principle. Sometimes as people who lead organizations, sometimes we also get into this very popular mode called analysis paralysis. They just get too much into data. There's a whole lot of things that's happening on the side, and you tend to kind of miss out of that. Also, one needs to be very careful about that. But with one of your previous questions that you asked, where will BPO go from now on? And I think data analytics and business intelligence is something that has to be the core of any BPO, advising their clients as how things are moving.
Wow, interesting. And do you see this within the kind of teams and leaders that you have handled, that particularly people who have a technical mindset? Do you feel there is always a challenge on soft skills with such kind of people? And there might be people where this challenge is not there. What's the difference? How can a technical person be trained on soft skills for leadership?
Well, my ex-bosses told me 2 IT guys can never get along well with each other. When you were asking this question, that's what was hitting my head. They are completely different. An operations person to a hardcore hardware IT person to a developer, a coder. All of them behave very, very differently, and in an organization, you kind of need to balance that and take that up. Yeah.
How does a IT person who has just learned to work with logics, how can that person, when becoming a leader, take care of the soft skills growth particularly?
In whichever function you are, right? Your growth can grow only up to a certain limit because of your functional knowledge. Beyond that has to be people management, collaborative skills. One of the framework that I've been contemplating recently to implement, all the organizations, they build KRA goals for the year, AOP, and this is typically an AOP season, right? I've been thinking when I was going through this exercise in the last week or so, we always build our AOPs basis functional output, and it largely lands up as an individual target or a functional target. All organizations, we talk about collaboration, teamwork, and other things. I just realizing that there is nothing called a team target in most of the organizations that I've seen, right? Is there a common target that, let's say, a quality team and an operations team has to deliver together? Is there a common target that a sales team and a transition team has to deliver together? Is there a common target between finance team for net margin and operations team to work together? They're all targets are silos, right? So therefore, all teams are tend to be silos, right?
In fact, I was asking this particular question, right, where we say, the Indian leaders specifically, they say that there should be workplace collaboration, but we see more silos than collaboration. What's the reason for that? Just adding on to your thoughts to get that question.
Absolutely. Because everyone when you build an organization goal, when you build an AOP, you compartmentalize function-wise. And then tell all of them you go work together. They are all running for their own deliverables, right?
Right.
I thought it would be a good framework for organizations, and I'm going to, seriously consider implementing it. Say, I'm going to give interfunctional targets, right? You guys got to work together and bring this out. Right? I'm going to see if that really helps in building a more collaborative space.
Is AI really creating jobs, or it's just a corporate way of kind of saying that, hey, you should not worry?
AI also has the collaboration with people, right? I'll just take you for probably about 5 minutes on what we do with AI from a contact center perspective, not just
Sure.
Altruist, but in the industry
Yes.
in general, right? With all this speech to text that you see, right? We see a movie in Netflix. I can completely understand a Telugu movie or a Bengali movie, despite the fact that I don't know both the languages, right? With speech to text coming in, today there's a function called quality in the BPO segment, right? What they do is they listen to the calls, they rate the calls, how was
Yeah.
the soft skills, how was the empathy, how was the process knowledge, how was the right resolution, right? Today, we can listen to about 3-4% of the calls that are there,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
How many people will I deploy to listen to all the calls? With AI coming in, AI listens to 100% of the calls. And it gives you two very important parameter. One, where each agent has to improve, right? Today, we just call all the agents and tell them what are the common mistakes and then, get them back to the floor. Pinpoint and tell you, this agent only weakness is soft skill. This agent weakness, soft skill is good, his process knowledge is really bad. We go and treat each of those agent what is needed for him, right? It builds up accuracy. It saves time for us. The other set of information it gives us, why are customers calling? From where are they calling? What are their dissets? Are they talking about any competitions, right?
Right.
So that with 100% of all the calls being listened on a day-to-day basis is a wealth of knowledge on what the customer thinks of the brand, right? So this doesn't take away any job.
Yeah.
It really helps the people who are working, right? The second thing is Copilot, which I'm sure you would be knowing and working on in some way or the other, right? Where during the call, an associate gets supported on. There are, I think in the e-commerce industry, I think there are about more than thousands of reasons for which a customer can call the call center. Imagine this poor little person, right, who's just out of college or school. So it's impossible to memorize and be right always, right? So there is a live assistant system that is there, which helps the agent during the call. The customer is irritated, tone down. If the agent does not know what the resolution is, help the agent. Tell the agent, this is the point in which you have to do cross-sell. Give you a CSAT at the end of the call, right? This is not going to take away jobs. It's going to make people better. Yeah.
So what you're saying is, AI is going to do things which are currently not being done because of bandwidth issues, and B, that it is going to improve the people on what they're doing already.
Absolutely.
Interesting. And still in the first segment, right, we discussed about how repetitive jobs are going to be taken. What are businesses doing to make sure that the people are upskilled enough to not let machines take up their jobs, for them to do new stuff, outgrow the machines in certain functions?
I have a slightly different view, right?
Okay.
It's not a man versus machine fight that we are going through, or how can I run faster so that I'm ahead of the machine all the time. It's not that. It's like working along with the machine to make the end customer experience better, right? For that an associate might need to see those live pop-ups that come up from an AI understanding that and articulating that correctly to the customer. It's just a one single example that I'm giving, right? Would need to learn more of AI tools as it comes, and the BPO should facilitate all that. I think that's the way forward, right? So it's not a war. It's not man versus machine. It's like, how do we do it together, right? It's always there is this thing of the good and bad of any technology that comes. You see so much of deep fakes and other things that are there of AI. So it's largely the man under control, and that's how it will be. We just need to use the machine intelligently and make it solve our complex problem.
So there are a lot of things which AI can do, especially in the customer support segment. So on a food delivery app, as you mentioned, right, the customer is not asking the bot on how much time my food will take, but rather telling the bot that I should be connected to the agent who is going to tell me the same thing, that, hey, please wait, your food is
sometimes it can even be to vent that anger. Right?
Yes.
Sometimes it can be just to vent that anger. A frustrated customer just calls and says, oh, what the hell.
So my question is, can a customer ever trust a bot on the same way they trust like an agent on aapka kaam ho jayega, right?
I got that. I said that in one of the conferences.
Yes.
And you got that.
Yeah.
You got that correctly. Yeah. I think if I split that into two, right, the support that a bot gives to a customer, either through an app or through back office, I think there is enough amount of credibility for the bot. I think customers are really getting comfortable in that moment. What is not picking up the way it should pick is the voice bit from a voice bot side, right? We have this tendency for the customer to immediately, that it's a machine. They have a tendency to, kind of cut the call off, right? Voice bot is only a economy tool for organizations, right? The customers don't necessarily look at it that way, right? If they pick, it's just a chance that I have, and I would never recommend a voice bot for a sales process for sure, right? In basic in gathering information, another thing is okay. I would personally not put in voice bot for a sales process.
But let's
coming back to that, we generally have confidence if a human being says aapka kaam ho jayega is a fact that I believe. Rest whatever you can treat on the app and you're able to get done, the customer is happy, organizations are happy because the resolution happens.
I think particularly in the rural India, the India 3 that we usually talk about, right? I think that's the key piece, right? And you are saying that market is growing. So
growing at a very fast rate.
There, I think the need of aapka kaam ho jayega is even much more important, right? So let's imagine the situation where actually, so and like being an AI founder, I see the possibility of AI actually talking with emotions, with modulation in voice, with cloning of the voice is pretty high, and it's very near. It's not very far, right? Where I'll get a call from an AI and I would maybe not really differentiate whether it's an AI or a human talking. With that kind of technology coming in, what do you think is the way forward for calling jobs for people who are in this sector?
Yeah, I think as I mentioned before, the complex jobs will remain. Premium customers, again, most organization would prefer somebody to talk rather than a voice bot.
Right.
First preference is, resolve in the app is the best thing, right? But if there is an interaction, I think either for premium customers or for complex tasks, I think it will be more of repetitive tasks. A bunch of them will still move to voice bot.
Sure. So in this segment, we are going to discuss about people management, and BPOs particularly, I feel that when even the best of the CEOs are not able to get something done, they outsource it to a BPO. It is so difficult, and you are actually revolved around all of this day in and day out. This is going to be my favorite segment. When it comes to, first and foremost, such kind of industries, you as a leader, you need to be approachable, right? Does being an approachable leader make people respect you less, or does it make stronger teams?
Oh, it's that. Okay, this guy, anybody can reach him, right?
Correct.
Got it. You got it. No, it's a balance. A lot of people across various organizations have told me, don't be so much approachable, right? It's going to take away your lot of bandwidth and stuff like that. But I've always been an approachable guy. As I mentioned earlier, I understood BPO by my interactions with people who take calls, right? I think if you are able to structure that reach out, then it's really very good, right? So we do town halls as many times as possible. Whenever I visit any of the sites, I try and do my best to call up all those managers, sit down and talk, or interact with some agents we have where people can freely write to the CEO. It's extremely important to kind of hear them, right? At a macro level, there is a very high chance that you might actually miss out the pulse of your organization if you don't interact with them. And so I'm 100% approachable CEO for sure. Yeah, I think it's good being that way. Yeah.
So in such a high pressure industry, does prioritizing employee wellness and happiness hurt the performance?
When you start giving space to an employee, right? I told you I go by the 3-month rule, right? If you don't put that bit, then people should not take their existence for granted, right? Neither can you be a person who comes and takes a whip and goes running around saying that I'm the CEO, I have the right to scream at people, right? That wouldn't work either. So definitely a balance is needed. Support the employee to the extent you can, right? It's at the end of the day, an organization is functioning not because just the CEO is there. There are so many people who work around that, and their state of mind and happiness is extremely, extremely important. Somebody can just go through a tough phase in life. We bought this scheme few months before from our HR team that if someone is going through a health situation, going through a surgery, or their parents, or their spouse or children, right? We make it a point to see that the senior most person in that location goes and visits them and be with them. You might have all your insurance cover and stuff like that, right? But these are things that we really need to go and stand with an employee during personal times, like how an employee stands with an organization during tough time, right? That's something that I really liked with what the team did. So these measures are very, very important. Keeping an employee in a motivated state. Quality work comes from highly motivated employee and does not come from somebody who does a work under pressure. That's something that I very, very strongly believe. But you have an organization goal as well. So how do you balance that? So it's very important to be transparent and specific with an employee, saying that this is your deliverable, but I'm here to help you if you're not getting there. But it's also up to the employee to kind of pick that up, use that help, and come up the curve.
So do you allow your employees to watch their wives, look at their wife's face on a Sunday, or do you want them to work?
Right. I definitely allow them to do that so that I can do for myself, So yeah, yeah. But coming to the point that's, kind of trending, the 70-hour
Work week.
work, where I have a view on that, right? Different people have different desires, different aspirations, right? You will also have a set of people who will say, boss, I need a relaxed life. I need a job which can meet my basic need. I'm not looking into, buying a 3 BHK or buying a trendy car that's happening. For me, basics in life is good enough. It's not a wrong thought. But if you have a desire like that and you work like that and you see other people do better, then you should not, feel bad or get jealous about it. And that's what happens to most people. If your desire is high, you work harder. But at the end of the day, I think you should have certain slots for yourself during the week to, kind of switch off. That helps you to be more innovative and get better at work. Definitely, one should spend decent amount of time with family, for themselves, or watch a movie once a week. I do all of that, right? I mean, I'm in the BPO, so Sunday, if there's an emergency, you got to work. That's fine. That's the nature of job. But wherever there is a possibility to, kind of switch off for a couple of hours or a day, I think once in a while is good for everyone. But the number of hours is directly proportional to the desire you have for yourself in your life.
Wow. Particularly for people in early career, right? Because we've talked a lot about them. Don't you think they should actually be working hard enough? Because there's no one who had set an ambition into them, right? So there has to be someone, and to achieve that ambition, you really got to work hard. Particularly till the time you're not married, there's practically nothing else that should be prioritized. Don't you think so?
Yeah, a lot of people say that organizations, also make use of the guys who are not married. You get extract the full work out of that. Yeah, I think so. At the initial part of the career, I think one should spend a lot of time not just in developing their skills to do their job better, but to also learn a lot of stuff around the job. And I think especially true in today's world, right? I think they should at least spend 10 hours a day work.
And particularly with this generation, right? Job hopping is a norm. So do you think you can literally win loyalty in employees, or how do you deal with that?
You see, there are two ways to look at this, right? Today in the startup ecosystem, there are so many companies that are starting to build, growing, 3 years, build valuation, sell and go, right? What's wrong if an employee thinks like that is at a macro level, you tend to think like that. But, it hurts the employee a little bit more because he loses out on that experience. If you take it as a thumb rule, as per my experience, and that's why I tell people who, I work with or mentor, that till such time you are about 40 years old, right? I think an average tenure in an organization should be around 4 to 5 years, not less, not more, right?
Yeah.
Because then you tend to relax a bit. 6 years, 7 years, you stay in a place, you tend to relax a bit. When you jump, then it's like, starting a new innings, right? You start from zero, you have to prove yourself all along. By the time you hit 40, you know the right type of industry, the right type of culture that you would want to be associated at, and then you can play a longer innings. Yeah.
Sure. So in this last segment, right, we call it decoding mindset. So we're going to decode your mindset. Take us through your mindset in last, let's say, 8 years, 10 years, how it has changed, and now with such kind of transformation happening, how do you see that taking shape in, let's say, next 5 to 10 years further? What about you?
About me?
Yeah.
Oh, a lot of things have not changed about me, from approach to work or approach to personal growth or personal learning from then to here, despite the fact that there have been a lot of movement in the industry I work for, right? I have a very strong belief, and I was addressing a bunch of college students who had, come for an industrial visit to our office, right? for me, the most important thing for an individual who is working is what their mind tells them when they're doing nothing, right? When you're driving down, or when you're, getting ready to work, or you're just, sitting doing nothing on a Sunday, or like, what does your mind tell you? Is it running a positive story? Is it running a projected bad story of future and stuff like that? And as human beings, we have the ability to stop that and change it to a constructive thought process. As long as you're conscious about that, I think, and put in the efforts at work, I think the growth will be there. But extremely important is to never come to a state where you think that you know everything, right? Especially in today's world, unlike before, I just can't do that for sure, right? But I got to sit and see what's happening in AI, what's happening in automation. And by the time I get a grip of it, 2 more new things will come, right? And if you don't do that, right, then you are not in the right position to construct the future track of your organization. Yeah.
On same lines, right? So I must say this, how I got introduced to you was one of my team members telling me that, hey Samyak, there is this CEO of this large organization who is really interested in exploring the AI that we have created. And I was taken aback that if the CEO is involved, that means it's the organization's priority.
Absolutely.
Now with that, a lot of HR leaders, people leaders, a lot of founders, CEOs are actually, when they're struggling with creating that trust and innovation, fostering all of that within, if you're supposed to tell your younger self something on how to keep relevant with time, what would that mantra be?
I would still go back and work harder. I would set, like a student of physics that I used to study so much, I would still go and say, if I am, able to have the ability to go and spend some 4 or 5 hours on just studying all this and, bringing my own perspective into that. And I'm trying to do that. I'm not able to get those 4 or 5 hours though, but I'm trying to at least, keep 2 slots of 1-2 hours in a week and things like that. But I think that's very, very important, go back to learning like how you did before, right? In today's world, you can't say I have evolved or I know everything, that's just not it.
Yeah, change is the only constant.
Yeah.
Sure. With that, we are going to end this beautiful discussion. I'm really excited to see how this industry evolves with AI coming in. Really nice talking to you, Makesh. It was a good time. Thanks a lot for taking out your time.
Thank you very much for calling me here. Wonderful. I think this discussion really went on well. Yeah.
Thanks a lot.